Awesome. So I see we have everyone gallery view, and we have a very cozy group today. I think actually just enough to see everyone on the screen. So a warm welcome to everyone. And I'm sure you came here because you felt a certain fascination or intuition to be here with us today. So our speaker at Dunia today is actually someone who I had the chance to connect to yesterday, who I find very fascinating and holistic. And I think she will be able to tell you better like what her own personal story is, especially her Teal story, from a very corporate business background to a very holistic background. And so I think, like, without much further ado, like, just so you guys are familiar with the structure, this is our first storytelling session, right? So all our storytelling sessions have about 20 minutes of storytelling, and everyone just gets to listen to an amazing story of our speakers. And then after that, we have about 30 to 40 minutes of dialogue and also like Q&A. So actually, it's supposed to be a very nice interactive format where we get to dive deeper, as Teal is often about, right? Wholeness and depth. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And unless, Dunia, if you want to hear a few highs from people, I think we can get started.
Okay. Thank you so much, Bianca. All right, so welcome everyone. Thank you for joining. This is a first for me because I was asked to talk about myself and my own personal development. So it was actually a lot of fun to prepare this talk because I learned a lot, right? I mean, and it's amazing, you know, how important it is to every now and then just kind of stop and reflect. In this case, I was reflecting about my life, and I had a bunch of epiphanies. So I'm already thankful for the Teal Around the World organizers for actually giving me this opportunity, right, to learn a bit more about myself. So I'm going to share my screen now. And I titled this talk "As Within, So Without," which was a sentence that became very important in my own clothing. I think there we go. Which became very important. This sentence in my own personal journey that I'll share about, which is a bit unorthodox, as you'll see as we go along. But basically, it's how important it is, right, to work on yourself if you want to do anything on the world around you, in organizations, in teams, in society, anywhere, right? So if we don't work in ourselves and we don't strengthen and transform ourselves, we cannot transform what's around us. And at the beginning, it sounded to me like, yeah, yada. But as I go through this journey, I realize the actual importance and significance of this. And I don't think we spend enough time worrying about our own personal development in our life, starting from school, from education, right? So very important, as within, so without. All right, so a little bit about myself, just so to put everyone into context. I was born in Paris, even though my parents are Spanish and I'm Spanish as well. But very shortly after, we moved to Vigo in Spain, where I spent my childhood. Then we moved to the Dominican Republic when I was 14. It was a bit difficult, right? But I feel that move actually strengthened me a lot and made me feel like from there I can go anywhere. So a big step in my growth, in my personal growth. I went to study engineering in the US, in Massachusetts. My first job in Texas, in Mexico, working for Saint-Gobain Corporation. I was actually living in Texas and working in Mexico in a maquiladora. Then I moved to Barcelona. I felt like I was losing my roots. I was no longer a Spaniard if I didn't go back and go find them. So I moved there and I started working for GE. Still with GE, I went all over the world for a while after Barcelona, and then I kind of landed in Portugal. So more GE, great professional growth. I became a nice big shot executive in GE. And then after a while, and I'll tell you a little bit about what happened there. I left GE and we went to London. I became a freelancer in London, doing change and transformation for big banks, insurance companies, etc. And then we moved back to London. My last corporate job was at Arrow in London, but living in Portugal. And that's also when I started my first Teal transformation with K2K. So when I kind of jumped the wagon from the corporate to the Teal world, right? And right now I live in the south of Spain, in Cadiz. And I'm a co-founder of KRISOS, a company that we formed with some K2K people and also the corporate rebels, where we are buying companies to transform them, okay? But it's kind of a boring storyline, right? I haven't told you anything about myself. I mean, you know what I want you to know, very, very linear, very, very boring. Very impersonal, okay? The reason why I put this line here, though, it's because wobbly line, right? It's because as I was reflecting on my storyline, I was thinking, okay, it wasn't linear. There's definitely been bumps, and those bumps are detonators for change, right? Are opportunities for change that arise, that either you grab them or you don't, right? And I feel there's been lots of bumps, and as soon as I would become comfortable and feel very successful professionally, I would have a big fall. Almost like to remind me, okay, don't settle down here, move on, right? So I've had many falls. I do feel that there's been always a crescendo, right? So I feel that when you climb back up, actually you're at a higher point than when you were before. So falls are good, they're opportunities. And I'll talk about a few as we move on, right? So on the other hand, and this was a reflection I was having, you know, what were my emotional states as this journey was going on? And emotionally, I think actually, and this is very important, right? I had pillars, emotional pillars that made me feel very strong and actually are the base for me to be able to climb back up as I fall, every time I fall. So finding that energy, right? So at first it's few parents, right? Then my extended family became more important in my childhood years. Then friends start to become a very important part of your emotional pillars, right? Or at least for me, more friends, boyfriends, husband, loving husband, children, dog. Even the dog gives me emotional stability, right? And colleagues, actually, and work colleagues. And as I was thinking back, right, I was quite amazed at how privileged I've been, because I do feel that my emotional foundations are stronger than ever, right? And I haven't been unlucky in the sense that I've had losses at a premature moment, or when it wasn't supposed to, when it wasn't part of the cycle of life, yeah? So I'm very lucky for that, because one reflection I made after looking back is actually, if your emotional foundations are not strong, it's harder to climb back up, right? And it's harder to develop, actually. So what were some of my reflections when I just, you know, from just going back and looking at my life? It's all about falling and finding the strength to climb back up. Personally, I find that strength by looking back and saying, hold on, don't forget all the amazing things that you did, okay? Don't let this setback make you feel like you are not worthy, that you are not right. Actually, you are. Look at everything you've done. So, okay, there were things that didn't go right, but look at everything you've done. And also go talk to all the people that love you unconditionally. I will tell you how great you are. And get that strength to then climb back up, right? So setbacks are part of growing. But as I was saying before, with the emotional foundations, they're not, emotional instability, I don't think is. Okay, so that's something, feeling love, and being close to people that love you unconditionally, and feeling that strength and having people around you that give you that strength, I think is actually very important. And if there's instability there, then you lose your strength and you lose your capacity to shine for others. Okay. And then the other one, and I'll tell you more about it as we go through the journey, meditation. I find that I started doing my meditation and yoga as soon as we moved to London, and I found that that's the reason why I grew and why I started to question things that I had never questioned before. So it's kind of the muscle that you get to be able to observe your life, detach yourself a little bit from it, observe it with a bit of curiosity and detachment from, the ego. So almost like if you're having an out-of-body experience. And it works as well, you're having a meeting, right? And you can actually observe a little bit the meeting without, feeling it too much, so that you can have a better picture of it. So to me, the meditation is, I think, what allowed me to grow. I love Ken Wilber, and actually he wrote the prologue that probably you all know, for the Frederick Laloux book. And he talks about integration, right? And that becoming a leader is the same as becoming a fully integrated human being. He also talking about meditation, how we are growing all our life. We're developing all our life. However, after our 20s, we kind of stop. Yeah. Kind of the kids, the work, and the wheel kind of takes over, and we don't develop that much normally until then we retire and become more contemplative, and we have more personal growth then. So the only way, he says, to actually experience growth during those adult years is through meditation. Or you could do some weird drugs to have some moments, but they probably don't. They might give you. I've never done them, right? But they might give you. I think he has. They might give you some snapshots, some vision. However, you do need the work, to the mindfulness work to actually have sustainable growth. Okay, so that's kind of a big lesson for me, and something I take very seriously now, the practice, and it's really hard to find sometimes the time for this. And then one last theory slide is the quadrants, right? I love the quadrants from Wilber. And at first, when I first read his books, I was not understanding this. Why wasn't I understanding this? Because I actually was very underdeveloped, especially on that one. Very underdeveloped. I mean, an engineer, rational, logic, didn't grow up in a family that was religious, right? So very rational, very logic, zero spirituality. I would laugh at your face, yeah, if you talk to me about those things. And actually, when I started doing this journey, I started to become spiritual, right? And I started to understand actually where all of that was coming from. But to me, that was the quadrant that was most underdeveloped, probably. And without developing in a balanced way, you reach a point, right? So it's not enough to know a lot about structural or social or be very good at it. You need to actually have a balanced development. Okay, so another kind of insight that I thought was quite interesting. So, but as I was saying before with the falls, I mean, you need a crisis, right? You need crisis, you need difficulty in order to develop, like the tensions that we talk about in holacracy, right? You need a bit of tension so that your muscle gains strength. I had a huge one with GE because I was doing really well when I was in Portugal working for GE, and I was COO of a finance lending arm of GE, business leader of some divisions. I was having the life, and to me the world was great. There was nothing wrong with the world. Okay, and who was struggling is because it was their own problem. There was nothing wrong with the world. And then I got pregnant. Actually, before that, I got a bad boss. I got a boss who was a psychopath. Now I say, right? Before I didn't know, but I did know enough that, oh, this guy, I'm not gonna do well with this guy. I mean, he's gonna love me now, but he's gonna hate me soon. So I better start looking for another job, which meant moving from Portugal because the country wasn't that big, that there were not that many jobs in GE that I could go to from where I was. So I started to think of let's move with GE, because for me, GE was the best company ever, right? Let's move somewhere else. But then I fell in love. Forget about that. You know, those plans kind of went out the door. Forget about moving. I'm not going to move from Portugal now. Like, I fell in love. And very shortly after, actually, I got pregnant. So love kind of took over. I stopped worrying too much about my professional future. And when I was 7 months pregnant, my boss, that boss, was freaking out about me being out and decided to substitute me and hire somebody else because he couldn't find an interim replacement for my job. And that's when everything just kind of, for me, crumbled down. And I'm like, what? This could happen in GE? If this could happen in GE, it can happen anywhere. And it was like a huge slap for me. And I needed that to realize that actually the world is not that great. There are many things that we could do to fix the world, right? So that was my nice big crisis, right? And now I'm going to talk to you about the portals, my portals for development, I call them, like things that actually happened and I did and helped me to have, I guess, quantum or like leaps, right, of growth. You need the crisis, but you also need some help, right? Some boosters, I guess. I call them the portals of development. As I was saying before, yoga and meditation is kind of what started it for me. As soon as we moved to London, I started doing that. And it was interesting how the first thing I was seeing was all sorts of like weird synchronicity events, when I'm like realizing that I'm thinking of something and it happens, right? I'm thinking, oh my God, after lunch, work lunch in the city, I'm like, oh, my tooth is aching. I need to go to the dentist. Where am I going to find a dentist in London? You know, I don't know anywhere here. And as soon as I'm thinking that, I bump into a colleague who used to work with me. I'm like, what are you doing here? I thought you were skiing in the Patagonia. And it's like, I just came from the dentist. With the anesthesia, right? Still like not talking. Really good. Here, I recommend it. And gives me a card of a dentist. So I was having all sorts of synchronicities, yeah? And oh my God, there's something else around here. This is not just what we see and touch. There's something going on here. What is it, yeah? And this is what opened me up and made me curious. I see Hugo like with a fascinated face looking at me because he's the master of synchronicities. So amazing. For me, it was amazing, and it made me a believer that there's something else. You know, there's energy. There's something else around there. And it's a practice I've continued for the rest of my life. Taking my intuition seriously is also important. I think I'm quite intuitive, and I've made moves without really understanding why, even before this, you know, this moment that I was telling you about. But I think it's very important. And in one New Year's Eve, already we were living in London. I had the weirdest New Year's resolution, and I took it seriously. You know, and sometimes, you know, it just becomes like, you know, we were cheating. It's like, what's your New Year's resolution? And I'm thinking, you know what? The world is screwed up, but I have no idea why. And I don't even know if I wanted to vote for somebody. Forget about having the ambition of fixing the world. I don't even know who to vote for, you know, who to support. I don't know what's the, you know, why is it wrong, and what do we need to fix it? So, you know what? I'm going to read. I'm going to read a lot. I'm just going to try to figure out, why is the world wrong? And that was my New Year's resolution. I haven't stopped reading ever since, okay? Now, there were some insights that came actually very quickly after that resolution that led me to read a few books, or came from reading a few books, but actually have stayed true since then. And I thought I'd share them with you. One is Beware of Psychopaths. They are dangerous. They love power and love to hoard it, right? So beware and understand that phenomenon, right? And there's a funky book called Snakes in Suits that shows that phenomenon quite nicely. But of course, what we do about it is we don't let power accumulate, right? We cannot let people hoard power. That's kind of a conclusion, right? From learning about that. And we create settings where psychopaths don't find food. Don't feed that, and then you will be safe, I guess. Then the other one was We Are All Connected. I had this, I love to read Asimov when I was a teenager. And I went back in my adult years after this New Year's resolution, and I read this book from Isaac Asimov, right? Which was a continuation of the Foundation series that that I had read a long time ago. But it was just because I was trying to find out about Gaia. Probably if you read this book, it won't mean anything to you. But Gaia, the planet, the environment where everybody is connected and it's one, it's kind of what I was looking after. And we are all connected. We are a lot more connected than what we think, right? So being kind of aware of that. And then we have to restore the feminine energy. We have to bring balance. We are one of the reasons why things are not how they should is because there's no balance. And it's the feminine energy, not women, although women will play a big role because they have more of it probably, but it's the feminine energy in all of us that needs to come up, right? And there's many books for this. One that came to me that somebody gave to me in one of those synchronicity moments was Daring Greatly by Brené Brown, which I loved, about being vulnerable, being able to be vulnerable, yeah. But there's of course many aspects to the feminine energy that need to be worked on. All right, so talking about my other portal books, I just threw here a bunch. I've read, in London, I had a nice commute where I could find a seat in the tube, in the metro, and read, right? The free journals were horrid. They gave me almost like a tachycardia from reading them because they're so depressing. So I thought, okay, I need to bring my own book. And I started reading in the tube, and I got to a point where I was reading a book a week. And I was in such a high. I don't read as much now because I don't have the tube with COVID, we're online. But for me, books are like portals. They take me to another world, and I get so excited every time I'm reading a book. And somehow the good ones come to me, right? There's the synchronicity, the good books come. So obviously Reinventing Organizations changed my life in the sense that it helped me find what my purpose was. But there's many others. All of these have been really important for me. I don't know, you probably know many of them. Authentic Happiness, about positive psychology. It's amazing. Drive from Dan Pink. He has one of the most popular TED Talks, but some things that he talks about there, it's like amazing, right? So mindset, growth mindset versus fixed mindset, where you're being judged. So yeah, so all amazing books. The latest one,
you recognize this?
Hello? Somebody, okay. The World We Create is one of the latter ones I've read, and I also loved it. And it actually talks about how important it is for the world. It's all constructs, and what doesn't work in the world is a construct that we created. We can take it out, but the key though is being developmental in societies, right? So one major insight that is very related to this talk, actually. All right, and the last portal, the esoteric world. So this is how I see myself when I do meditations and I do some of my more exoteric work, right? When I'm working on that quadrant that was very underdeveloped for me, I'm kind of like this connected to earth woman, warrior, but wearing a white gown, sort of thing. And the first time I kind of encountered that woman was actually when I did a past life regression. Yeah, I was talking to a friend about how the world needs to change and we need to be all connected and blah, 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 blah. And she says, it looks like you had such a clear picture. It looks like you've lived it in another life. Why don't you go to this lady? I sent a few friends first to go to her and tell me how that journey was. And they said, yeah, it's good, Dunia. So I went, I went and I did a past life regression. And I had one of the most transformational moments in my life that actually changed me even physically. Okay. And I saw this lady who had energy in her hands. I was telling Bianca yesterday, and could beam energy that would bring life, would bring flowers and grass, make it grow. And that lady, who was very powerful, died. Obviously, it was a past life regression. Died and was very upset about dying because she was about to do something great and something really bad happened, right? When she died. She was in Atlantis. So we kind of probably all heard that something went really wrong there. So I guess the point of my regression was to get rid of that anger, right? Because I still had this strong urge to help and to fix something, but it was coming out with anger and frustration from not having been able to do it that first time around. So the point of that regression was to let go of that, because that lady was stuck, had not kind of gone back to, finding the, reuniting with the soul or whatever. So that was very important, and it changed me physically, because since then I feel my hands a lot. I feel energy in my hands. I talk about something that is moving and I feel my hands pounding. I'm doing a relaxation after a yoga session, and I feel my hands pounding. So I feel the energy. I go like that and I feel the energy. So something interesting. Not sure I'll find a use for it, but it's there. Awakening the illuminated heart. So when I did that regression, I heard about Trambalo Melchizedek, who was there to help me apparently. And then I realized I had a book from a guy called Melchizedek, and he had a course called Awakening the Illuminated Heart. So I joined. And I did this course, which basically it's about connecting your heart with your mind, and being able to go to that place of creation where you're creating from the heart. Extremely powerful meditations that we do. So I'm always in my heart now when I go and do my meditations. So I don't know how to explain it. You just have to feel it, I guess. Also, I do visualization exercises, which are really interesting, because I find it like, I think it's a easy way of coaching. Because you actually reach your subconscious, you relax, and you're guided through a visualization that helps you find the blocks. Now, a block might not mean anything in the way you're visualizing it, but it's actually having an impact in your real life. It's manifesting in a particular way. And this is a very neat way of fixing those blockages, without even having to go through the Freudian traditional psychology of understanding them and feeling bad about them because you're reliving them, right? You actually get rid of them in your subconscious, in imagery. And so I found out, and actually dream opening is a very similar but different, where you also reach your subconscious, but from interpreting your dreams. So it's a practice that is quite difficult, but quite powerful, where you remember, you have a technique to remember your dreams and write them down, and then a group helps you opening them and helps you interpret them. It's always hard to interpret them yourself. This is how I found out I had a cyst in my ovary that needed to be removed, actually, through dream opening, and it was them helping me understand why there was this big blob in a garden. The garden was my creative womb. And through that, I'm like, oh my God. I found that out. So very interesting how the subconscious is very wise and knows a lot. And you just need to learn to reach it and extract information from it. Big portal for me, and a practice that I continue doing. So this is lastly my last slide, and it's about purpose, right? So through this journey, and after reading lots of books and finding out what was wrong with the world, I was actually finding out what's my purpose? What am I here to do, right? I might as well do something that is useful, right? Especially now that I'm finding out what's wrong with the world and what we could do to fix it. The Frederic Laloux book helped me fine-tune my purpose, which was to help organizations transition to a new paradigm, right? I call it created artificial structures, because I think it's clunky for us now because we're not used to operating that way, right? But anyways, it's creating structures, ways to help organizations, people transition. And I put at scale because to me, scale is important. You know, this has to become a good virus that gets very contagious around the world. Transition to that brightness and that new paradigm, right? But it's changing. In one of my latest actually meditations, I saw a different purpose that I'm still processing now, but it was more, it's kind of transitioning to helping people find their inner light. So before it was me shining, me helping, right? And now it's kind of like, somehow I need to help people find it and protect it, learn to protect that inner light from the power holders, right? Like it cannot get sucked by others. We all need to learn to protect that light. And it evolved to in society. So somehow I find myself now also the role is going to evolve. It's not just going to be organizations, but also moving into society. But it's still evolving. So I'm still, processing it. It's very fresh or hot from the oven sort of revelation. And this is all I had to share. And I'm very curious to hear what are your portals for development.
So that would open our Q&A part up, right?
Yes.
Cool. Okay, folks. So I think we don't actually have that a large group, right? We only have 18. So exactly, exactly. I think we can just make it simple. We don't need to do breakout groups. Maybe I don't even think we need Mentimeter. We can just have a very cozy, intimate dialogue here together. That would be my suggestion. But always feel free to type anything in if you want. And and maybe we can just open, we can invite anyone who feels the calling to right now to open your mic and ask what feels like a burning question to you right now.
Or share what your portals are.
Or share what your portals are, or anything that really struck you in Dunia's sharing. I myself, I was a lot of places. I was oh, this is interesting. I would love to ask more here. So let's hear it from everyone. And also to recognize also the level of vulnerability and courage, Dunia, that with which you shared everything was, right? So so we have already a few hands up. We have Celia and we have Susanna, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. So maybe Celia?
Yeah, thank you. Hi, Dunia, and thank you so much for sharing, as Bianca just said, so openly and sharing your own journey and how it evolved. It was really inspiring to hear you talk about all of that so openly. So thank you for that first. And I do have a question, because I loved in what you shared, I loved how you emphasize this emotional stability provided by the people around you, all around that journey. And I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about what is the role they actually played? How did those people all along your journey contributed in helping you in that journey?
Yeah, I don't know why, but I feel very privileged, and I am aware that this is not the setting for many people, right? Around, but I feel unconditional love from everyone around me. starting with my family, and I could see them quarreling. I could see, for example, how my dad doesn't get along with sometimes, right, with my uncle or my aunt. When they look at me, they love me, like no judgment. I feel unconditional love from everyone around me. So is that to me, it's been that feeling, and sometimes I'm like, oh my god, I can see how they've had a different experience with that person, but somehow I've been very loved, very, very loved. Maybe in order to be able to do what I'm doing in this life, I needed that setting. I don't know, but the conclusion is that it's so important. It's so important, right? And we're not all lucky in that sense, but we still need to look for that, right? And move away from the settings where we don't feel that unconditional love, non-judgmental love coming.
Thank you so much.
Susanna, how are you?
It's so good to see you again, Dunia. And it was so good to hear you. And I felt so deep compassion hearing your journey. And I just wanted to share with you that one of my portals, and I will be brave enough first in my life, tarot cards. I am just analyzing situations with tarot cards, and I feel it's really a gate just to reaching higher awareness, not telling the future, but just, see some other levels of our existence and other levels of our problems or situation. And it really puts me in another state of mind all the time. And I'm very grateful to you sharing your experiences and being so brave and making it official that our growing paths, legal part or legal part can be these kind of experiences. And I think it is very important because it opens up all these human experiences and make them possible to talk about. These are very important points. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love the openness of our conversations. Anyone else who would like to share or ask?
Stefan?
Yes. Hello, Dunia. Thank you, first of all, for sharing. I would be interested to understand, like, those spiritual revelations that you went through. Like, how did they change your behavior, or what changed through it that made you successful and fulfilled then after all? How was the translation?
Yeah, I mean, it's all very gradual, right? But when you start operating from the heart, it's kind of different, right? The way, so from meditation, right? I saw how it impacted how I was in a meeting. Yeah, because you go into meetings in the like work setting that could be quite toxic and quite aggressive, right? And you start receiving boom, 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 and you start feeling like you're being attacked. Yeah, and then you get defensive and you go back and charge back, right? And when I started meditating, I started to see that I was actually having a different posture in the meeting. I was actually observing with a bit of curiosity and almost feeling bad for the other person, right? Thinking, why are they in so much pain? Why are they so worried? Why is this person hurting so much, right? That they're trying to send these things. It was not touching me anymore. I was feeling like almost like if I had this shield, right? And it doesn't come through, right? It's interesting. So then you go deeper, right? You don't focus on the surface of the but you're actually going deeper and trying to understand what's behind this with this person, right? How can we fix this? So I think it gives you a bigger or deeper vision, I guess. And it's really hard to maintain it. And I mean, I have moments where I fall way down there, you know, but then I realized it. The good thing is that you're gaining an awareness, and then when you look back and like, oh, I did it again, you know, I just fell down and forgot about, you know, this. So it just gives you, I think it gives you superpowers. I think all these things give you superpowers to see things that you wouldn't see with your eyes. You see more. And I'm thinking out loud here.
Thanks a lot, Dunia.
I see a lot of
He just
people.
wants to share portals. Come on, Hugo, share your portals. You have so many.
Now we share a lot of portals, Dunia. So reading is one of them, no? So my experience with reading is full of these moments when finally I read something and I have clarity around something that I already somehow I knew, but I hadn't clarity on this, no? So there's this amazing book about is called Freedom and Accountability at Work. I don't know if you have read it. And it's in an amazing book, and it's about existential philosophy. And I had a lot of insights, and I found the meaning of life through this book.
I'm writing it down right now. See, this is a synchronicity moment.
Yes, no, because it says that the meaning of life is creating yourself in the future into a concrete past. And somehow I felt this throughout my whole life. No, somehow you look at yourself in the past, and now you see yourself as a different person. No, so there was Hugo struggling in a meeting with this tension. There was Hugo smoking and so you create, but you're on this journey of creating yourself in the future into a concrete past. No, so this is it. So this was a big epiphany that I got from reading a book. No, so this is one of the things, and the other was also, I think, meditating also had a big impact. And there's this thing about spirituality. So I am a software engineer. No, so I was a radical skeptic, also around spirituality stuff. And I did one of the trainings. I think it was the first training in Europe from Search Inside Yourself. It was in Paris. And then I was alone. So I was already meditating for a couple of years. And I remember this moment when I was walking in the streets of Paris. And I felt that I was infinite in time. So it's hard to explain this, but I had the experience of being infinite in time. And that my daughter, so I had been a parent recently, that myself and my daughter were the same thing. You know, so I was having this thing about how to divide the shares of my company. So I had a company and the profits with the employees. So I had this thing about being fair, no, about ethics. And then I saw myself as a kid sharing oranges with my brothers. And it's hard to explain because it was not something that I realized, it was something that I felt. So I felt that myself, my daughter, we are the same thing, and we have been always here. I don't know, like infinite in time. So, and I think this kind of aha moments, no, came also from the fact that I've been meditating, and they had a profound impact in my daily life, because you cannot see life in the same way when you experience that you're infinite in time. You get dizzy, you know. I just got dizzy, and because I felt overwhelmed by this experience, no, walking through the streets of Paris alone, doing this Search Inside Yourself retreat training in Paris. So I don't know, it's also so I share a couple of portals we do, Dunia. And thank you so much for your sharing.
We had another hand from Celia, I think.
I'm sorry, I have so many questions.
No worries.
Because of course, what makes me really curious is how, you shared about of development in those portals, right? And I'm always curious about how you integrate it today in what you do. And I think you mentioned at the really beginning of your talk that now you created you're a co-founder of a company that, if I heard correctly, you said that buys existing companies to help them transform. And that really that made me super curious. And I was wondering if you could tell a little bit more about that. Like, what is it that you do? And how everything you've done in developing through your intuition and so on, this unconditional love that you receive, how you then use that in that activity.
Yeah. So as I said, I read that book from Frederic Laloux. I'm like, wow, this is it. This is the purpose, right? So I started to transition to look for opportunities to support organizations in transforming to those new paradigms, right? That Frederic talks about. And there were many things that we did. That's when I met Hugo, actually. We created this community where we were all wanting to do that. And in fact, we wanted to buy companies and transform them back then. But we ended up not buying companies, but actually helping each other a lot in our own learning and development on how can you be a leader in these new settings, because we need to unlearn so much and learn so many new things, right? So that was a great place for that. And then I learned about K2K. So I reached out to them, and I, after several, seminars and meetings and going back and forth, I ended up finding a client who wanted to do a transformation in Portugal, which is where I was living at the time. So using the K2K method, I started to lead that transformation, right? I led that transformation, which was amazing, and with amazing results. And to answer back to how is this helping you? It's like you're a healer of an organization where you're doing that, if you talk in energetic terms, right? So you need so much, one, to take care of yourself and protect yourself, because you're getting bombarded. That thing I was telling you about a meeting, when you're helping a whole organization, you won't believe how much stuff, dirt comes out, right? From all those years, how much frustration. And you kind of whilst working on the surface, looking for the structures, how we're going to operate, all that stuff, you're also helping the organization heal, at a kind of energetic level. And you need to take care of yourself so much so you don't fall, you don't attach too much to it, right? And then you become part of it. You're no longer holding the space, but you become like a little thing in it, right? And who knows who's holding the space? Nobody's holding it. So to me, this was very important. I saw myself falling sometimes, right? And then being able to kind of no, go back to holding the space, right? So I think this was really useful, right? Kind of having that higher awareness was really useful to be able to do this successful. Otherwise, you just become another piece in the puzzle inside the bubble, right? And now what we're doing is, it's almost like an experiment to take it further, could we get higher scale if instead of waiting for the illuminated leaders who want to do this change, right? We actually help companies that are struggling already, so they have that crisis, that moment, that need. You need to have the need, right? And then we buy them and run the transformation. We know that it works, right? We know financially it works like a turnaround, yeah? So it's more about now, let's see if we can get a pipeline of companies that have the right conditions to do this. And we're trying it in Spain first, just because the 3 transformers who are partners with me, we are in Spain. But the point is how can we get scale, right? So how do we collaborate with others? So we're already finding that some people from Germany and from the Netherlands want to collaborate and do something similar where we support them. So that's the whole point. And it's, it's important, this buying them is important because companies for an owner are like children. They're an extension of your ego. Yeah. So if you buy them and extract the owner who was that creative source, that created a company with all the respect and the word is not coming, but anyways, like recognizing everything that person was able to go to the point. But if you're able to completely like separate that, I think it goes faster. Because otherwise you need to wait for the owner to do their own journey and transform themselves, as within, so without.
Lovely way of touching the topic. So I'm aware we have only 6 more minutes left in this meeting room, but we do have, I think, in the agenda, after that, another 30 minutes, like freestyle conversation and spatial chat for anyone who does want to continue this conversation with Dunia and with each other. Actually, you can go to spatial chat. I'll send the link into the window in a bit. You just have to go to the corresponding second room in spatial chat later. So that's just in terms of logistics. And since we still do have 6 more minutes left, who feels really called to first this burning desire for a last question? Like, there have been very fascinating things being talked about.
A question or a checkout?
Yeah, or a checkout, or a question that has a checkout in its nature. Anything goes. I have to say, personally, I've been sitting on holding back the question. I am fascinated by what you mean by protecting people with light from the energy hoarders and power hoarders. So I don't know if that's something that's also in resonance with others, but just to also give voice to the energy that's bubbling out of me. Yeah. So let's see, who would like to give a checkout remark, or how this conversation touched you, and we can still continue in the spatial chat later, obviously. This is Anna. Yeah.
I think there is a new phrase for me is organizational healer.
Mm-hmm.
Got from you, Dunia. I think it is very important. So thank you very much, and I would be happy to have some conversation with you about your new project buying company. Probably here in Hungary, it would help a lot as well. So perfect. I will try to get in touch with you, and thank you very much.
Beautiful. Yeah, maybe we can go one by one. Yeah, Pascal.
Mm-hmm. I start? Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. I didn't feel like sharing, but I wanted to thank you for what you shared, because it resonates a lot at different level. I'm quite inspired by the integral model, and especially Q1, which we use in everything we do in the collective I'm working in. I'm touched also with what you want to do with companies and helping them. And I can only advise you to connect with another talker of the next session, Patrick Fransen, who's doing something quite similar in Belgium. It's a bit different, but the spirit is there. And I would end up this checkout with unconditional love. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Actually, I think Patrick Fransen is in the next storytelling session. So this is a perfect, cool. Who else? I'll probably be in that one too. Yeah. Who else would like to share their takeaways? You have 3 minutes. I'm just gonna use my energy reading skills now. How about like I would love to invite Hugo. Yeah, and I think he's unmuted.
No, yes. So I would just no. I also live with the organizational healer, the unconditional love, and I don't know. I was listening to you, Dunia. You were saying how lucky you were of having all these people on your life, and now you felt so unconditional love, no? And I would just like to say how lucky we've been of being touched by you. So, and probably them as well. Thank you.
Resonate. Yeah, and I don't know. Somehow I feel an intuition to invite Henrietta if you feel happy to.
You have great sensors. Yes, I have to be honest, and I have to say that I will go through the recording of this session because I joined you late. But it fully resonates with me and what I'm trying to, and the business I try to start here in Slovakia is about helping individuals, leaders, and companies or teams to reinvent. Of course, it's all around becoming Teal, becoming more conscious and self-aware. And when you said the companies need healers, this is really what I have taken courage to do recently with my one-on-one clients, because for me, coaching somehow wasn't enough. Mentoring and other, let's say, reinventing methods. And when I started to offer kind of healing and therapy to them, they did incredible results. So this is really something what we need for ourselves, for our families and organizations to really heal and enjoy the gifts the life is offering to us. So thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful to hear all the voices and in all the different countries. Yeah. So I think we've reached the official time, but I'm gonna send the link in our group chat. I don't know how strict they are in terms of kicking us out here. Dunia, do you want to say the last words? Like just hearing everyone echo back to you?
I think this was lovely. Again, I really enjoyed putting this together because it gave me the opportunity as well to reflect and get some insights. So I'm happy that I did it, and I'm happy that that is helping you also get your own insights. So excellent. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you so much. And for anyone who feels called to continue and dive even deeper, I think we can see each other in the second room in spatial chat. And oh, I need to take a screenshot of this. It's so beautiful. Yeah, just genuinely heartfelt. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Love. Thank you, everyone. It was an honor. Thank you, Dunia. Maybe see you guys in different rooms in different sessions throughout the next 2 days.
Yeah. And thank you, Bianca, for moderating.
No, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.